everyone, and welcome to Daily Spark TV. I am Dr. Angela Butts-Tester, and I'm so glad that you are joining us today. We are talking about the newsletter of life. My guest today is Valerie Katz, and I think you are going to enjoy the time that we spend with her today. Let me tell you a little bit more about Valerie. She has worked for a private school in California for 34 years. She started as a bus driver and moved on to be assistant to the principal. She always knows that God has a plan for her life. She's always known it. She continues to believe it. But she didn't realize where that would take her, and I love that. She is also the author of The News from Arkansas, Sense of Humor Required. So you know what I like to do. I want to inspire. I want to empower. I want to enlighten you. So come on and join me for the newsletter of life. How are you, Valerie? Thank you so much for being on today.
Well, I'm very happy that you invited me back.
I was going to say, I'm so happy to have you back on the show. Everyone so enjoyed you on last time, and I'm glad that you're able to spend some more time with us. So I'm going to pick your brain a little bit differently this time, if you would. So thank you so much for allowing me to do that. So the first question is author. We have our plan, or we believe that we're going to do certain things in life. Did you know that you were going to be an author?
No, it was a complete accident. People now are saying, "Oh, Valerie, I really enjoyed your book. I can't wait for the next one." And my answer always is, it's going to be a long wait because there's not going to be another one. I started writing emails home to friends and family when we moved to Arkansas, and everything about Arkansas was so much different, and so I wanted them to know what was going on, and those emails then evolved into my book. My son said one year at Christmas, "The only thing I want for Christmas next year, Mom, is a copy of your book. Please get it done." And so I did, but there was no plan to be an author.
I love how God uses the various people in our lives to prompt us or to give that confirmation of that idea that we think that we had. It is beautiful. Shout out to the son that said, "Hey, Mom," right? Because it has definitely changed your life for the positive.
Oh, it sure has.
Yeah, you know, such a blessing.
At my age, to be invited to do things like this, and all the little book clubs where I live have had me come over and share the book with them. And a comment that I get, though, a lot is, "After I read your book, I expected you to be more outgoing," because I tend to be a little more quiet. And they thought I'd be more boisterous after reading my book. I think I might be better with the pen than the voice.
Well, you know, we find that artists in general are a little different than everyday people, and I think they have to be that way because that's how they are creative. They express themselves in their art form. So I think it's awesome. You know, who knows what's going on in there? That's why everyone thinks that there's another book coming, and you never know what God's going to place on your heart later. I do hear you, though. It's like no book, but we never know. Now, speaking of the word author, that title has changed over the years. People think author and a certain image or picture or environment pops into their mind. When I say author to you, how has the idea or concept grown in your mind?
Well, I'm not sure. Like I said, I never planned on being an author, so I guess it's come to feel a little bit more familiar. I am in awe of people who just can think up a story and make a beautiful book out of it. I feel lucky that I ended up in Arkansas and had all these adventures that I could write about so that I could become this author that I never thought I would be and share my story. And I don't know, people just kept saying, "Are you saving this stuff?" And I was actually saving it so that I wouldn't forget the awe and the joy that I found in Arkansas, and I could go back and read about it and remember how wonderful I thought it was when I first moved there, and just in case that went away. Well, it's been quite a few years now, and it hasn't gone away. I still love it.
And I think that it's really helpful for people who know you personally to be able to read these beautiful stories that you're sharing, because it helps you live on when you go away. And I don't necessarily mean mortal life. I just mean if you move or they haven't seen you in a while, they can pick up the book, turn to their favorite page, and say, I remember that story, or she told me about that story. And then this beautiful memory that comes in. Being a historian of sorts, I think is a beautiful thing, and just allowing people to have that beautiful memory with you. We have so many people nowadays that are dealing with dementia, or they're dealing with some type of mental illness, and to be able to read a story that reminds them of a good time that they have, I think is an awesome thing. Who knows how your book's going to be used? I love it. So Valerie, when it comes to female authors, do you think that as much of a spotlight is shown on female authors?
Yes, I do. I had a funny thing happen though with Sue Grafton. I was reading her ABC books and enjoying them so much, and then I read that when she starts a book, she doesn't know how it's going to end. She just kind of goes with it, and I'm afraid that ruined the whole series for me.
And it's so interesting to hear each of the female authors talk about how they start, their process, and all of that. It is really something to hear how everyone has their own process and how everyone eventually becomes their own bestseller, be it that it's a New York bestseller or a hometown bestseller. It's awesome, the process that we go through. Well, it's time for us to take a break, but don't worry, we will continue this great conversation. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for a Daily Spark TV. Valerie, I want to ask you, when did you realize that words have power? Was there any particular moment in your life that you realized, hey, that's something?
I think it was dealing more with my children, and I drove a school bus, and dealing with them. I would be driving along, and what was going on in the back was of no consequence to me. Unless they started to fight.
Right.
I could hear that fast. And then I would turn my radio down, and I'd say, okay, this is what's going on back there, and if it doesn't stop, the bus is going to stop, and I'm going to deal with it. So you need to not treat each other like that.
Right.
And I think with my own children, the first one is a trial. That poor boy, he had to take the beginnings of everything. But I did learn from dealing with him that when the other ones came along, don't do that. That didn't work so good, And I think that's when I discovered that I needed to be careful with my words.
And it's amazing how I think everyone has a similar story, that something happened and they realized in that moment they could have said something and it would have gone left or right. The power to de-escalate or to encourage simply with our words is amazing. So yeah, I can understand that. Now, for so many people, writing is an experience. So my question is that do you find that when you're writing, I don't want to say a spiritual experience and that there's angels come and fill the room, but do you find it to be an experience that really touches your soul, or you're trying to share a little bit more in those moments?
Yes. After we'd been in our new location for a little over a year, my husband passed away. And so I was writing about his illness along with all the other stuff. And I found that I was always much happier with the emails if I ended them on a lighter note.
Yeah.
And it was a lot to deal with. But you know, there was some, even though it was a terrible illness, there was some really funny things that happened during it, you know, and then I would write those. And I think
that helped kind of put everything in perspective and
it
still
does, yeah.
kind of keep a sense of balance
Yeah,
for you.
I'm going through this terrible thing, but I haven't lost my sense of humor or my hope.
Yes.
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 Or my hope.
And I love how you said that. You also haven't lost your sense of hope. I think that that is so incredibly important, that people don't lose a sense of hope no matter what they're going through. As a cancer survivor, I can attest to that. Hope is an amazing thing to have. I love it. Now, when we talk about success, because people want to be successful, many people want to be an author, or they want to write, be it that it's textbooks or romance novels, kids' books, doesn't matter. So I want to kind of combine those two things and ask this question of you. What do you believe literary success looks like, or how should someone judge whether or not they've made it?
Well, I guess for me, it's been the wonderful comments that I've gotten from people after they've read my book. One lady said, "I feel like we're best friends now."
Yeah.
Another one said, "I really enjoyed your book, but I don't ever want to travel with you in a motorhome," because those were some wild times. And another one, like I said before, said, "Oh, I really loved your book and I can't wait for the next one." But, and when I go to the book clubs in the area, you know, and they want me to come and talk to them after they've read my book, when I walk in, it's like I'm walking into a circle of friends. Yeah. They're so happy to greet me, and, you know, that's been my success. And the fact that the people I know in California who have been getting these emails wanted the book, you know, so that they would have them all together and remember, you know, because I pick up the book and I just open it up in the middle and start reading, and I go, "Oh yeah, that was fun."
It did happen. Most
Yeah.
definitely. I think no matter what age you are, people have a tendency to forget some stuff sometimes, you know? You ask someone, "So what did you have for dinner on Friday?" And it's like, "Did I eat?" You know, we have to really think about it. So I can understand that. And what a beautiful way to be able to wrap up a day when you can go back and you can read about this wonderful thing that you did, or a moment that you shared with a friend. I think that that's really great. So yeah, your future self should definitely be happy that you wrote this book, because what a way to be able to share that with your grandchildren, of all the adventures that Grandma and Grandpa went on. I think that's amazing. That is amazing. Well, we need to take a very short break, but don't worry, we'll be back right after this.
Hello, I'm Valerie Katz, and I wrote this book, The News from Arkansas, Sense of Humor Required. I was a California girl. I lived in Southern California all my life and was never going to leave. My children, grandchildren, mom, siblings, everybody was within an hour and a half of each other. And then at age 67, I don't know what happened, but I moved to Arkansas, to a village in northwest Arkansas, and it was culture shock. Everything was so different, so enchanting and humorous, that I started writing emails home to my friends and family. And the subtitle of that was always The News from Arkansas. My sister moved in with me about a year and a half after I moved there because my husband passed away. And we hit the road in a 35-foot motorhome. We were really unprepared for that voyage, and we had some great adventures. they were hilarious. I have a friend who has read the book and said, Valerie, I loved your book, but I don't ever want to go on the road in a motorhome with you. Visit me on my website, thenewsfromarkansas.com. You can get my book on Amazon. Come travel with me.
And we are back. Welcome to Daily Spark TV. Valerie, I want to ask you, and this is a question that I think many people get asked, and that is there anything you would do differently as your teenage self or your child self to better prepare for this thing called being an author or a writer? Would you have done anything differently? Or do you think that everything played out perfectly because you've now written an awesome book?
Well, considering that I never planned on doing this, but I lived out in a very rural area of the desert, and we used to look forward to the bookmobile coming.
Yeah.
And my mom would say, you know, the bookmobile's coming next week, and I get all excited. So I'd gather up the books that I'd got the last time, and then I'd go and exchange them. But books have always been a big part of my life.
Yeah.
I always had a book going. A friend of mine once said, oh, Valerie, please tell me you're not one of those people who reads their book in line at the bank. And I said, I'm very much one of those people. If the line is long and I have to stand there, I have my book out and I read it until it's my turn.
You know, it's really funny because nowadays everyone just simply pulls out their phone, but I think that people are still doing that. And if it's a really good book, you're going to pull it out, be it that you're on the metro or you're standing in line, or I really need to be in bed right now, but I need to finish this chapter. Those of us that are bookworms, it happens. Yeah. And a really good book keeps your interest. So you definitely want to do that. I can understand. Now, you are a mom and a grandmother. Do you think that just having lived life in those various roles, that has helped you to share stories from different perspectives? Or it gives you a certain perspective when you are sharing, be it that it's live, like in the book clubs, or whenever you write?
Yes, I think so, because this book wouldn't have happened if I hadn't wanted to keep in contact with my family. I mean, my kids are still struck dumb by the thought that their mother moved to Arkansas at 67, you know? I mean, I always said, I'm not going anywhere. My claim to fame was my home phone number and my work phone number were the same for 30-some years. So if anybody from my past wanted to find me, they just needed to call one of those numbers and I was there. Right. You know? And I know that my grandchildren enjoyed them. When my granddaughter said something to me one time about something that had happened that was kind of crazy, and I said to her, sweetheart, haven't you read my book? when two of them and me got locked into the drive-through zoo, when we finally found somebody to come and let us out, I said, if you don't read the emails I send to your parents, I just want you to know this is what traveling with Grandma is all about.
It's all about.
Something, I mean, I had a newspaper article written about me in the local newspaper, and the title that she put on it was, Things Just Happened Along the Way for a Local Author. And that's true. Things are still happening to me. Unfortunately, though, a couple of years ago, I learned how to text.
Okay.
So I don't send emails anymore.
Uh-oh.
So the second book is definitely out.
Definitely is. Who knows? Maybe there's a way that you could recall them all. Look, I'm trying, right? For everyone who wants book 2, it's like maybe if we pray, it will definitely come out. But I think that that's awesome that you're sharing and that you are still keeping up a sense of communication with everyone who wants to know. As someone who is from the East Coast that lives on the West Coast, having that sense of time with our family that's away is really and truly important. So I can definitely understand that. Now, for someone who is saying, I hear what you're saying. You're a mom, you're a grandmother, you're an author, you were working. My next question is, how do you keep it all together? How did you not pull your hair out?
Well, fortunately, when I decided to do this author thing, I was living in Arkansas and not in Southern California, because it has taken up an awful lot of my time.
Yeah.
My new friend Bob, his comment was, for the first 2 years we were dating, was, "Are you still working on that?"
Absolutely.
Yes, I am. Still working on it. And now I have things like this going on, and the book clubs and other interviews and things that I fly to and travel to. And he says, "Are you leaving again? When are you coming back?" But it's gosh, I never thought anything like this would ever happen to me. And at this time in my life, it is such a great new adventure. I'm really enjoying it.
I love it for you. I know that I'm excited when I get to travel and, for example, doing the show, I get to meet really great people and it's fun. It is really, really fun to be able to do that. So I wish you safe travels as you go about and you share your book. Please keep doing that. People definitely need to know more about it. My last question for you, Valerie, and that is through everything that you've been through, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, how has your faith played a part into that?
My thought that I tell people a lot is, I'm where God wants me. Moving to Arkansas was something that was never going to happen. And then David put the house up for sale and we moved here, but it was a year before we could actually move because the house didn't sell. And then his house was leased for 2 years. We were all excited. We moved. Those people never moved into the house. Their escrow that they were counting on fell through. They declared bankruptcy and never moved in.
Oh, wow.
We were in Arkansas for 1 month till we found out that David had cancer. If we had moved 1 month later, I never would have gotten here.
Yeah.
And as things happened, just little steps along the way that caused us to be in Arkansas. Those were all things that I feel that God was doing so that I would be where I am. And it's such a wonderful place to live. And I really do feel that God paved the way to Arkansas for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love how God has a way of putting us where we need to be in the perfect time. It is amazing. Well, Valerie Katz, thank you so much for being on Daily Spark TV today.
I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in. I hope that I have inspired, enlightened, and empowered you today. Until next time, everyone, be blessed in the Lord. Bye-bye.